Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Fran, and I'm joined by my brilliant colleague, Gabrijela.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for an introduction, Fran. We're really excited to walk you today around one of the most essential topics for any professional services firm, mastering your utilization.
Just a bit of background on us first. Well, we're both senior account executives here at Productive. Gabrijela has been with the team for more than 7 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm closing up on my fourth. And between the both of us, we've spoken to thousands of different service businesses, whether it's digital agencies, consulting businesses, software and IT services, architecture, legal firms, and more. And in case you're new to it, Productive is a platform that helps professional service businesses run everything in a single place. It helps you become more profitable, more organized, and basically streamline your operations. And it basically helps answer questions like what needs to be done? What are the due dates for our tasks? Who are assigned to these tasks? And are we completing everything on time? Of course, when it comes to over-servicing, are we going over the budget on this job or on this client? We probably have some clients that are constantly more or less profitable. On the other hand, we may be over-servicing on some clients constantly. These are the types of questions Productive will let you answer very easily. Of course, linked to this, who's available to work? Do we have the right skills, the right capacities when we need them? Which skills are in demand where we have people sitting on the bench? These are the types of questions we help you answer. Linked to this, of course, is the future utilization and what does this look per person, per team, and also the actual utilization, which is based on timesheets. There is, of course, the question of how much money do we realistically have in the pipeline? What are we hoping to close? What's the weighted revenue of these deals by months, by the skill sets that are in demand, and so on. Finally, we are also covering the invoicing flow. We're helping you build invoice drafts, finalize invoices, send them to your clients straight out to the system. And of course, we integrate with a number of different accounting tools to run your financial process as you should. And yeah.
It's all tied together in one place called Productive. Well, week after week, as Fran mentioned earlier on, we talk with agencies and professional service companies around the globe. And they all agree that utilization is the most important metric for these type of businesses. Why? Because utilization is directly linked to your profitability. The amount of utilized hours that you have will likely determine the amount of profit you're making as well. With the webinar today, we hope to provide some answers on the question on how to master the utilization and steer the future of your business. We will cover 3 different pillars here: budgeting, time tracking, actual utilization and overheads, resource planning, and forecasted utilization, since all of these are tied to today's topic. So let's start with budgeting. Why is it important to mention budgeting when we're speaking about utilization? Well, whether you're monitoring the historical utilization, so how much time was already spent on a project, or looking into the future and trying to research the people against your project, it is important to have your budget in mind. This is why in Productive, when you're tracking time, when you're tracking the actuals, we're comparing it against the budget estimate, or looking into the future when you're doing the resource planning, we're always providing you insights on the budget that you have at your disposal for a certain type of resources against that project. Why? Well, I'm sure you know it. It's important to not over-service the client, because that will ultimately impact both your utilization, but also your profitability.
Secondly, time tracking, actual utilization, and overhead. So this is something very important that we'll cover in the next few slides. And first and foremost, time tracking. It's one of the toughest processes for many agencies.
Agreed.
But it's also foundation for growth. We simply need to know where the time of your teammates is going, which projects, which services are in demand, what the billable rates and the cost rates are. It's all tied to your profitability and your growth. So understanding how effectively you're using the team's capacity, that's crucial. And yeah, usually teammates hate it for various reasons, but it's up to you and your team to answer who tracks time, how often, and how granular do you want to get. That's why in Productive, we offer 6 different ways to actually track time.
So this brings us to utilization rate. through the timesheets, we're getting the result of what your actual utilization is. This is why we're really emphasizing the habit of time tracking and make it as easy as possible. So the utilization rate is actually the time an employee spends on client work compared with the total time they're available to work. This means that we already deduct any type of vacation or sick leave when we're comparing their billable hours. And sometimes I get a question from companies on what should their ideal utilization be. My answer is always somewhere from 70 to 80%. But have in mind, different employees would have different utilization rates. This is why you can customize targets for different employees. Because, for example, your senior staff and your team leads, they usually spend a lot of time training new employees, coaching them. They're spending time in recruitment processes or pitch. So you wouldn't expect them to be 80, 90% utilized. However, you should also be aware if some of the employees have constantly very high utilization rate. It is okay if it happens, in a single month, but if it happens month after month that they have utilization over 90% or even 95%, this is very alarming. This might show that they're overworked and it might result with the burnout. So be mindful of that and try to reduce these situations and act upon them.
Yeah, that's right. And in those cases, you might need to consider hiring additional staff or redistributing workload more evenly. If you're at 100% utilization or beyond, you likely don't have capacity for things like skill development, mentorship, business improvement, or even new business. What's very nice about this is that Productive lets you compare what your utilization targets are to what the actual utilization is to see if those targets were actually met. And let's not forget, high utilization might look good on paper, but it can create hidden costs like employee attrition, longer delivery timelines, or even missed business opportunities due to the lack of capacity. Tied to this is also our overhead calculation. Now, we want to factor in those non-billable hours, right? Because they also generate a certain cost, even though they're an investment in your people, in your business, but we need to account for those costs as well. This is why Productive's flexible and automated way of calculating your overhead per hour really comes into play and helps you get that overhead per hour so that we take into account the cost of running your business when we're building out those different reports and metrics in the system.
And this brings us to our next topic, which is the forecasted utilization. This is a very important topic because I would say this is the level up from just tracking the utilization. If you really want to stay ahead of the game, you need to look into the future. Ideally, you would align your sales team around resourcing and your HR and finances as well. The sales team would use this as an input of which skills they should sell in the upcoming months because they are higher or lower in demand. The HR team would use those inputs to plan their hiring needs. And then ultimately, based on this in Productive, you can create a lot of financial projections that can steer the growth for your finance team. So how do we actually get to the forecasted utilization? We get it through the resource planning process. Here we have a screenshot from Productive on what the resourcing of my team looks like. The situation here is ideal because everyone is working 100% of the time, which is less likely to happen in reality. But we can see here that all of my teammates have a very green capacity indicator indicating they have 8 hours per day of work already planned, not more, not less. And we can see below all of the projects they're working on in the upcoming weeks. We will go through some of the examples that Fran is going to show you from Productive.
Yes, so let's go through an actual example and let's see how many professionals use our system to actually plan resources and get the data around forecasted utilization. So what I'll do just now is I'll share my screen and I'll take you through a live demo of this part of the tool. So what you can see on my screen is Productive's resource planner. On the left side, we're seeing our team. And here we can see our workload, which would basically tell us whether our team is over or above their daily capacity. In this case, this person is overbooked. And in this case, a person can take on more work. Let's say that we're in need for a copywriter. What Productive lets you do is filter out a specific skill you're after. So say I need a copywriter, and now I'm basically getting a list of all of my copywriters in the same place. Plus, Productive lets you use virtual placeholders so you can plan ahead before someone actually joins your team. Productive will also let you expand this view so you can see which actual projects your team is working on. Now, let's say that I'm a copywriter and I want to schedule myself to work on the upcoming project. All I have to do is pick a date and drag and drop like this, and finally search for the project I want to assign myself to. In this case, I'm working on this 360 digital projects on copywriting, and I can just assign hours per day, percentage of my capacity, or even a total flat number of hours, which is then automatically and equally spread across all working days in this period. Finally, I would just like to mention that we also added the option to create tentative bookings. So in cases when you're not sure whether this person will actually work on this project and whether you'll go ahead with this assignment, you can create a tentative booking, which you can then down the line easily confirm. But however, going back to the forecasted utilization that Gabrijela mentioned, Productive has a nice report that can help you actually get to that information of where we need to hire and where we have people sitting on the bench. So this report focuses on the next 90 days, and it basically lists out my employees and their forecasted utilization in this period. I can easily sort this from highest to lowest or vice versa to see who has the most scheduled billable work in this period. What I'll do now is I'll group my team by skills, by date, and I'll create a quick pivot table. What this shows us essentially is our skills, and we can see the number of hours they have scheduled on client work in the upcoming months. If this is above 100%, then our team is actually working above their capacity, and we likely need to hire more people or take on a few more freelancers. On the other hand, if this is very low, it indicates that we have teams sitting on the bench, and as Gabrijela stressed out, we should probably indicate to our sales team that they should be offering more of these services in the upcoming months. So this was a very brief demo, but this would give you actionable insights, and it would tell you in which month you probably need to hire more, like in April for this skill, and in which months you have people sitting on the bench, for example, iOS in May. Of course, for more information and for a live demo, you can always reach out to us.
We want to thank you so much for your interest in this webinar. If this has sparked an interest in you and you have some specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, and
Bye.
see you soon.